Hey friends, Neil here from Post to Post, and in this video we're going to be looking at Stadium Series jersey concepts. As I release this, it's a Friday, so in case you are new and you want to know what's going on in the channel, every single Friday we look at jersey concepts from the community. These ones in this video are from Roberto. Like I said, Stadium Series, I have no idea what's in store. Other than that, I don't know what the matchups are, anything. You and I are going to find out together. It's a lovely Friday tradition that we have on here. Most of the time it's just regular NHL jersey concepts from the full league. But this time we're looking at Stadium Series as the title. So let's bring up his first designs and let's see. It just says game one in the file, so I have no idea what teams these are. Okay, coming up. Oh, it looks like we've got Anaheim versus San Jose, and Roberto has his own logo and everything here for the Stadium Series and his hypothetical situation. So I can say right away, first impressions are that this is Stadium Series. Like when we're talking about design and intention, when we're thinking about a series. So Winter Classic, it has its own design language. Stadium Series, its own design language. And obviously something like a reverse retro. You want to reach back into history. All those series kind of have rules where if it's just like an alternate, well, every team, you could do a retro alternate, you could do a modern alternate, you could do whatever. But Stadium Series typically has this design language of something that's bold and maybe modern. So I think that this, both teams, Anaheim and San Jose, is right on the money. So Roberto's done a great job there. But with the actual designs, in terms of like, are they good? Well, I don't think they're bad. They're definitely Stadium Series. I think the San Jose Sharks one is maybe a little bit more Stadium Series, just because you have got an element of the logo, and a lot of teams have done this. They'll take an element from the logo and they'll make it big, like Tampa did that with the kind of the lightning bolt design. But this is a really good example by Roberto in the San Jose one of taking an element from the primary logo, which is a shark in this case, and making it a little bit bigger, making it a little bit more interactive with the jersey. It's not exactly the way that I would design it in terms of like the neck and the shoulders and stuff, but he's on the right road to success there. Now the Anaheim one, we get a little bit more of that previous generation jersey. We've got more of kind of like the bronzy color that's in there and this kind of inner pattern that's inside. So it does feel maybe a little too familiar. Yes, it has a different logo on the front. Yes, it's a little bit bigger, but the rest of the jersey feels maybe a little bit too familiar. So I think I like the San Jose one a little bit more, but I like the size of the logo of the Anaheim one more. Does that make sense? So I think there's good qualities of both of them. Let's move on. Let's see what the next matchup is. LA versus Vegas. I think this is probably a very predictable matchup for the future. So LA has been in a Stadium Series before, and I don't think Vegas has. I think Vegas has just been in a Winter Classic, if I'm not mistaken. But the Vegas one, to me, first impression is I get more Winter Classic vibes than that, and that's almost certainly due to the textual font style logo on the front. That, to me, screams Winter Classic, maybe a little bit retro and stuff. There's not really anything bold on the jersey to give me Stadium Series vibes. And when we think about Vegas, maybe not specifically the brand of the Golden Knights, but at the brand of the city, Vegas, there's lights everywhere, there's hotels, there's so much imagery and stuff to work with visually. I think that this specific design by Roberto probably misses the mark in terms of Stadium Series. But the LA one, they had a pretty bold design. I don't remember the year. It was just a couple of years ago in the Adidas years, early Adidas years. And I think they played, I think it was Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, 2020, 2021, something like that. And I would say that I like that design more than this one, although this one's not bad. I don't like the big stripe here across the belly button. It almost looks like a wrestling belt or something. But the logo that's being used on the front of the jersey is quite Stadium Series because we have that history to go back with LA. It doesn't give me full Stadium Series vibes, though, so I don't love either. Let's move on. Utah versus Colorado. So the Utah one, well, now we know what their actual design is, or that their brand is. It's the Mammoth. So this just says Utah on the front. I don't think they would do that on a Stadium Series. Maybe. It's not like other teams didn't. I think Nashville did. I think, did Tampa do it? I guess they did with the Bolts. But I think they could probably get a little bit more lively with the logo here. But the bottom of the jersey is exactly on the money for Stadium Series. We've got some angularity to represent the mountains in Utah. The shoulders up here, very colorful. So that's all Stadium Series vibes for sure. Now the Colorado one, their jersey in general, home and away, is kind of already modern. It's kind of bold. It's got a lot of design visuality to it. So this is not that, strangely different than the home jersey, or sorry, the away jersey here, we've got a lot of color separation with the burgundies up top and the blues down below. So there's a bit of off balance there. But in terms of design, all those angles to also represent mountains, that's all very traditional Colorado, very expected Stadium Series designs. So I think almost entirely on both of the jerseys, Roberto has done a great job representing Stadium Series and both individual brands. I could see Colorado maybe doing something a little bit different than their actual logo, and Utah doing something different than textile logo. But yeah, the rest of the jersey is great for both. Minnesota and Dallas. Okay, look at this. So I have an immediate probably issue with the Minnesota shoulders. They're very rounded, and that gives me Winter Classic, very retro kind of vibes, very old school jersey look. I do like this though, that kind of shooting star pulled from the eye of the bear on the logo and put at the front of the shoulders. Really cool, wonderful idea for a Stadium Series. I think that's brilliant. Also on the arms, making the striping a bit part of that as well. Super logical, right down the line of Stadium Series. The logo itself, yeah, they could probably use that, but they might do something a little bit different for Stadium Series. But the shoulders, the front of the shoulders are awesome, and the arm striping is awesome. Now on to Dallas, we have some kind of yokes that dip down to a point, which is a little bit retro, but the fact that it happens at an angle, the hook almost comes in towards the front, that alone gives it Stadium Series vibes. That gives that modern aspect, the number font as well. And although we're looking at a retro kind of style of the bottom of the jersey from the late 90s, it feels modern just the way that Roberto has done it, with that kind of severely inner and exterior stroke of the green around the black. So it just kind of gives it this almost like neon kind of vibe. So I think it is quite Stadium Series, honestly, and he keeps the traditional logo. So yeah, pretty good. Moving on to the next. Wow. Okay. Chicago versus Buffalo here. I don't like the Buffalo stripes up here. I'll keep it on the arms. The arms are fine, but again, it almost gives that wrestling belt vibe. Now the shoulders, I would say super Stadium Series. Super Stadium Series. Super Stadium. Yeah, okay. That sounded weird from my head for a second. I don't know why. But lots of striping up here. You got that logo. That's their traditional logo, surrounded by these city flag visuals. So that's a kind of a good cross between the two. Now the logo on the front to me is a bit Winter Classic, not necessarily Stadium Series, so it wouldn't be my first choice. On the other side of the coin with Chicago here, that primary logo is very, very Stadium Series in my opinion. The shoulder patch is way too big. Like if you want to put the traditional Chicago shoulder patch up there, or the logo up there as a shoulder patch, that's fine. But I think the feathers coming down almost to the top of the numbers, it's just a little bit. It's taking up too much real estate on the shoulder. But the striping, like having the star in there from the city flag, that's awesome. Really good city flag representation in both of these jerseys by Roberto. So I would say overall, pretty good job on both. Next up, we've got the Winnipeg Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers. So we're blessed with a couple of Stadium Series jerseys from Philadelphia, and the last one, which was a white one, beautiful. One of my favorite Philadelphia Flyers jerseys. The previous one was very similar to this, although not black as the primary color. It was orange, I believe. And then the previous one to that, in the Reebok years, which carried over to Adidas as an alternate, it's complicated. That one was black with orange kind of as the complement color. So it is a little bit similar to this, but not exactly the same. I think what we're looking at for Philadelphia, is really a cross between that Reebok Adidas one to the previous Stadium Series, the previous Stadium Series alternate. I'll try and put photos up so you guys can see it. Like I had a hard time to explain. It's nice, okay? Very two-tone, very nice. The Winnipeg one, to me, has Stadium Series aspects, but kind of not at the same time. I think the logo on the front is a little bit more Winter Classic because of the textual style, but the shoulders specifically, very Stadium Series. It looks very military uniform and pretty cool. A lot of angles there, so I really like the shoulders, but I feel like there's different design language from top to bottom kind of in that Winnipeg one. Now, I will say that if you do like this set so far, Roberto has submitted a kind of a follow-up set to this. They're hoodies or sweaters. I will be making a video of that right after this one, and you'll see it on the channel in a couple of days. You'll see this on a Friday if you're watching it the day that I release it. And I'm going to release that sweater one on Monday. So just from a couple days from now, if you want to see that. So in the reverse retro years, the set in 1 and 2, we got sweaters and hoodies to go with it. That was a really cool play by Adidas and Fanatics. So we've already experienced that, and Roberto's kind of replicated that in his kind of universe here. So keep an eye out for that on Monday. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to see that. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we've got Seattle versus Vancouver. But to be completely honest, Roberto, both of these are beautiful designs. I'm not even really critical of anything that you've done here, but to me, this is very Winter Classic, both of these. I don't get Stadium Series vibes from really either of these, mainly because of the usage of off-white. Off-white is traditionally used in more of a retro jersey, like a Winter Classic or something, just to call back to history. It's almost like a weathered look. So to see that in a Stadium Series, I guess just to me, maybe feels off, or I don't want to say wrong. Wrong is a bad word. It's just not typical for Stadium Series. So I don't necessarily think I'm right. It's just how I feel. And I think that these are both beautiful Winter Classic jerseys, not so much Stadium Series ones, but both very nice jerseys individually. I actually really like that Seattle Kraken one. That's nice. Next, the Oilers versus the Islanders. Wow, very strange to see basically the exact same color palette on both jerseys, different brands. Obviously, they both use orange and they both use blue, but both shades are identical here for the orange and the blue. Now, the Oilers jersey is Stadium Series, I would say. It has a little bit of a retro aspect to it, but I think it's on the line with Stadium Series. And then the Islanders one, yeah, I think it's a little bit, it's almost, again, kind of a cross between Winter Classic and Stadium Series, maybe more alternate, but I think both are definitely fine. Moving on. Oh, okay. Okay. Very interesting. The Washington one. Let's start there. That is so American and beautiful. Now, as a Canadian, and all the stuff going on recently with Canada and the United States and Trump and yada, 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 I feel bad by saying that I love this because it's so American. But it really is a beautiful representation of the U.S. flag of America. You've got the colors in there. You've got the symbolism of the Capitals with the the Screaming Eagle logo as well. It says the Capitals up here with the current logo. It's not the best Screaming Eagle that I've seen, but it's a really, really interesting and cool rendition of it. I think that is a great Stadium Series jersey. Now, continuing with the political trend here over to Ottawa, both countries' capitals, the Ottawa jersey is definitely Stadium Series, but I don't love the logo for a Stadium Series jersey. I think the Sens along the bottom, not something that I would ever do in a design. I think it maybe looks a little bit silly in my mind, but now like seeing it, the execution of it, I actually don't mind the word Sens down there. It adds nice balance with the Capitals jersey because you've got Capitals kind of at the bottom there as well. And I think that's what is important. If you're doing a series, whether it's Winter Classic or whether it's Stadium Series, it doesn't really matter. If you're taking into consideration a matchup between two teams, you do see that kind of same design language between the two teams in previous series, in Winter Classic, in the previous Stadium Series one. So Roberto's on the right track here. He's picked two logical teams, both capitals of both countries. He's picked two jerseys that kind of share a little bit of similarity. So there's really a lot of logical decisions here by Roberto. I think there are some little things that I would change, obviously, like the Senators logo, the primary one, but he's done a lot of really, really good logical things here in some of these matchups, and I think this one's a good example. Okay, what's going on here? Detroit versus Columbus. Okay, so maybe there's a bit of representation here. Now, I will say that immediately both of these are mega Stadium Series. Like that Detroit one, it just screams Stadium Series. The arms are unbelievable. It is very not Detroit, like in terms of the risks that they take. Like I've never seen, I can't even imagine Detroit doing something like this because it's so risky design-wise. But it is very Detroit, like visually, like it. I think that I would be okay seeing that for sure on a jersey. It doesn't necessarily match the primary logo too well on this one, but it is a nice Stadium Series jersey. I'll give it that. The Columbus one's beautiful. I don't know if I would change anything on that jersey. Actually, it's very, very nice. I like the chevrons on there. I love that logo, allowing the blue to just come up and breathe. So really good matchup here. Okay, next. We've got St. Louis versus Nashville. Well, I think the Nashville one definitely has some Stadium Series vibes for sure. That's pretty much what I would expect from a Nashville Stadium Series jersey. The St. Louis one does feel a little bit Winter Classic. I don't know, I'm a little bit torn on the St. Louis one. What do you guys think? You let me know down below in the comment section. Next up, the Montreal Canadiens versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, I kind of feel like the same as a couple of the other ones. Like there's elements of Stadium Series here. The bottom of the sleeve of the Toronto jersey, having that maple leaf there, very Stadium Series. I think that the shoulders are a little bit Stadium Series, a little bit Winter Classic, but overall, very beautiful jersey. I really like the Toronto jersey quite a bit. And the Montreal one, that is, I would say maybe a little bit more Winter Classic than anything, specifically with the logo. They've used a variation of that logo on a previous Winter Classic jersey in 2016, I think against Boston. Beautiful logo. Absolutely love it. But the rest of the jersey isn't necessarily Stadium Series. The logo's not Stadium Series, so I'm really not getting the Stadium Series vibes at all from Montreal. But I don't mind the jersey. It's okay. Next up, wow. Okay. What's happening in the central area of the Boston jersey, from the arm to the middle, back to the arm, extremely Stadium Series. Maybe not necessarily the logo, but the way that the stripes are interacting and have a relationship with the logo. What I mean by that is the black bottom stripe comes to a specific point and stops, a couple inches from the logo, and then angles up a couple inches from the text. Like it kind of follows the outline of the logo with some separation. That's like super Stadium Series design language. I would absolutely see that. Maybe not necessarily the logo itself is kind of what I'm getting at. That's a little bit retro, but yeah, the middle of this jersey, the Boston jersey, is amazing. The shoulders, a little bit retro, a little bit Stadium Series. Overall, a pretty nice jersey, honestly. Off-white, definitely Winter Classic. Now, the Tampa Bay one, that's very Stadium Series. I mean, it's honestly kind of close to what they previously used. A little bit of a different orientation. You got it, but it's all over the place. Like there's bolts coming down sideways. There's a bolt in behind it, so it needs a little bit more depth and dimension there. And then on the arm, you've got completely vertical text coming down the arm that says Tampa Bay. So it's just it is all over the place. Like the font of Tampa Bay is different than the font of the number, but it's different than the font of the bolts on the front. So there's 3 different fonts, and they're all completely different. One's very blocky, a little bit italicized. One's very italicized, and one's very stylistic. So there's just so much going on in that jersey. It's not bad. I would just mainly fix the logo, honestly. Okay, next, the Rangers versus Florida. I'm getting major Winter Classic vibes from the Rangers one. It's nice. It's just, I don't feel like it's Stadium Series. The Florida one, super Stadium Series. Like that Miami Vice kind of look. The way that the Florida text is done with a bit of a gradient in there with the palm trees. Very beautiful. Yeah, I can see that being a potential. Next, the Calgary Flames versus the New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils jersey, that just looks like any random Devils jersey. I don't think that's Stadium Series to me. The Calgary one, that's so hit or miss. Like the bottom is very pedestal, which is reverse retro 2.0, plus the original pedestal jersey. The Calgary logo on the front, I think they used that in early Reebok years or maybe late, like previous to Reebok. I can't exactly remember. I think it was an alternate jersey that they used that on. So overall, it looks like a Stadium Series jersey because it looks modern, but almost every element is taken from a retro style jersey. So I'm a little bit on the fence with that one. I think it's nice. It's okay. It's not the direction I'd probably go for Calgary, though. Next up. What is that? Okay, so the Penguins one, to me, that looks like a practice jersey. Very practice jersey. Not a fan of that. The Carolina one is absolutely insane. It looks like a specialty jersey, like a warm-up jersey or something. It is super Stadium Series, but it's almost like too much Stadium Series. I can't imagine Carolina doing something like that, or really any team. It's so aggressive. So I think maybe that one's just a little bit too far. There was I think that was the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. There were some really good designs in here. Some that really speak to Stadium Series, and some that are just like really just straight up good designs. Like both the Vancouver and specifically the Seattle one. Like both of those are just really good designs. The Chicago one was just regardless of series, that's just a nice jersey. The Utah and the Colorado one, both just really nice jerseys. I'm gonna give my favorite to. I think my second favorite's probably Columbus in terms of just a jersey that I like. But Stadium Series that's also applicable to the brand, that is also like works on a good matchup here, I'm going to go probably Ottawa, Washington. I think having both capitals against each other, both capitals of the countries against each other would be really cool, with the Capitals and the Sens. Plus, both designs are pretty Stadium Series and pretty decent, but the Washington jersey is going to be my favorite. I really like that. I've seen so many variations of the Screaming Eagle jersey, but that was definitely unexpected, just the way that that one's designed. So, Roberto, really good designs. I'm very curious to see what you have for the hoodies. What you saw in this video is really just kind of part one. Part two comes Monday when we talk about the sweater designs. I hope they're as good as these ones that we just saw. I assume that they'll be presented in the same way with the matchups. I've not looked at them, so I have no idea. We can react to those together and have some fun. But that's really the beautiful part of why I like doing this every Friday, is because, well, number one, I don't know what's coming my way. It's always a bit of a surprise, and it's fun to look at and react to these. But number two, I'm not looking at necessarily all professional work. A lot of this is coming from the community, from amateur graphic designers, from professional graphic designers for sure, people that work in in an industry. It doesn't have to be sports industry, but in an industry as a designer. And some of it is just straight up pre-amateur, like you're just getting into designing for the first time. You're really just a beginner and you're just playing around. And I think that's what I love the most, is because on this channel, over the past couple of years, we've been able to see the variation and different skill level of so many designers. And sometimes the sneaky first-time designers submit some amazing work. So I always want to encourage, if you have some ideas in your head, doesn't matter if it's Stadium Series or Winter Classic or just a regular jersey, if you want to come up with a full set of NHL jerseys, 32, please send them in to me. Details on how to do that are down below in the description. If you've already got Photoshop, or if you just want to use like the free version of Photoshop, I think it's like Photopia. I think it's free. It's just a website, Photopia. Go get that. It's free. Just go to the website and you can like import PSD files, which is a Photoshop file, and you can find some free templates out there. So like you could create an entire set of NHL jerseys without having Photoshop and without paying for a template, just using the free stuff that's available. I always encourage that. Now, if you want something pretty professionally developed and presentable, kind of like the template that Roberto used here, that's going to be from sportstemplates.net. The highest quality templates that you can get in the sports world, whether it's hockey, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, doesn't really matter. A lot of beautiful 8K templates. And not just jerseys, full uniforms, arenas, sweaters, footballs, basketballs, all kinds of stuff. And I can save you 10% if you use my code post on whatever template that you want on the site. And there's free ones too. So if you don't want to drop any coin, no worries. Go grab some free ones over there, download them. And if you've got Photoshop, bring it up in Photoshop. If you don't got Photoshop, go to Photopia and just, edit it there. So I'd encourage anyone to put their ideas down to, not paper, down to Photoshop or whatever, and submit them to the channel. There's Illustrator templates out there as well available to people. So really, thank you so much. This is really a thank you to the community for anyone who's ever submitted and anyone who plans to submit. I'd love to see your designs. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Let me know down below in the comment section what was your favorite from this video, and I will see you Monday for more designs from Roberto. See you then. Adios.